It's Thanksgiving week here in the US, and I have been thinking a lot about what I am grateful for in my business. And honestly, I'm not just grateful for the obvious things like amazing clients that I adore and love to work with, and projects that have been so fun and creative, and we've had a wonderful time launching. But I'm grateful for the boring stuff, the systems, the automations, the tools that work behind the scenes so that I don't have to. And I am kind of a systems nerd and love to talk about all of these things. And the truth is, without these systems, my website wouldn't work nearly as well as it does. And most small business owners don't realize that a great, high functioning website isn't just about the design and the copy. It's also about the systems that support it and make it function as a business tool. Today, I thought it'd be fun to share the business systems I'm most grateful for and why your website needs them too. Welcome to Website Design Made Simple, the podcast for busy small business owners who want a high performing website that converts and sells their offers, even while they're sleeping. Because you deserve to have a strategic and beautiful website that truly represents your brand and positions you as the expert that you are. I'm your host, Jenny B, web designer and creative director at Jenny B Designs, where we believe that your website is the one thing that makes you sales and builds your brand at the same time. Ready to say goodbye to a website that you're embarrassed to share? And hello to a money-making, personality-packed powerhouse? Let's head into today's episode. Hello and welcome to the pod. I am so happy that you're here listening. If you're listening live, it is one of my favorite weeks out of the year where we celebrate Thanksgiving and get a super long weekend and start to get ready for my favorite holiday, Christmas. So thank you for joining me. If we haven't already met, my name is Jenny and I own Jenny B Designs. We are a brand and web design studio, and I really, truly am passionate about helping small business owners design a beautiful online space that reflects them as a brand and attracts their ideal clients, calls them in, and makes them money. Because at the end of the day, that's why you have your website, to make you money. Lots of resources on my website at jennybdesigns.com and a whole catalog of podcast episodes, over 100. So if you have just started listening recently, I encourage you to go back and listen. And there are so many different topics that we talk about. So today, the topic I want to talk about is systems, and I'm actually rather a systems geek. I love websites and designing, but I love systems and automations probably the same amount, if not even more. So today's topic is going to be really fun for me, and I hope that you'll learn a few things from what I'm sharing. First, I want to start with why systems matter just as much as a beautiful website design. A lot of times when we design a website, we write the copy, we get this beautiful visual brand, put it together in a design, launch it. And then sometimes it's slow for things to happen. Or worse, and I see this a lot more, lots of things happen, but the business owner can't keep up because there are no systems in place. Systems turn your website from a standard digital brochure, just a simple 5-page brochure website, you could call it, into a functioning business asset. Systems can automate the repetitive stuff. They can capture leads properly, and they follow up when you forget and help you keep organized, even when you are drowning in client work. And that's what I mean when lots of things happening. You get this beautiful website, you launch it, and all of a sudden you're getting a lot of traffic, a lot of people are noticing you, you're getting inquiries, and you're having more clients, and you're drowning in client work. And systems help you with this. If you don't have systems, leads can sometimes slip through the cracks. You might have to manually respond to every single inquiry through your website. When you onboard someone, it could be chaotic and hard, and you can forget what you do, and it might not be a process that is similar every single time. You can't track what's working and what's not, and you're constantly reinventing the wheel. This was me before I got all my systems in place. I felt like I was constantly trying to come up with how to write the same email every single time and spending all this time on it when I should have a system in place. And ever since I've gotten systems, they really have given me so much time back. In fact, sometimes I'm questioning myself, am I busy enough? Are things going well? Because my systems allow me to have so much extra time. The first one I want to talk about is my CRM, my client relationship management system. What I use is HoneyBook. There are so many out there. There's Moxie, there's Dubsado. Um, there are so many different CRMs, especially if you have a specific industry that you work in. I work with a lot of psychologists, coaches. Sometimes they use Better Practice, sometimes they use Jane, many different. And before I had HoneyBook, what I was doing was I was juggling client emails. I had contracts in a different system. I was sending that out through PDFs. I was doing invoicing, payments through QuickBooks, trying to manage the project in my head, and it was a little bit discombobulating. Now, what happens is that when someone comes to my website, they fill out a contact form, it automatically creates a new inquiry in HoneyBook. I get notified, but more importantly, the system on the back end starts working. Someone fills out that contact form. The person's name gets sent into HoneyBook. HoneyBook sends a welcome email thanking them for filling out their email and sending them a link to book a call. At the same time, as soon as they fill out that contact form, they're redirected to schedule a call. So it is seamless on their end as they're filling out the form and scheduling a call. It happens automatically. But they also get an email thanking them with that link to book a call as well, in case they forget. And then if I have to ask any questions when we have the consultation call, the CRM sends it to them, and then they can answer those questions. The system also sends reminders leading up to that consultation call that I'm going to have with them to chat about their project. We have the call together, and then after that, I go into my system and pull out a proposal template that I have already built out, and it populates their information into that template. And then I customize a template based on our conversation, and I send it to them. The proposal is through HoneyBooks, my CRM. The client sees a proposal. If they decide they want to move forward, they select that they'd like to move forward, and they automatically are taken to a contract that they can sign. And then once they sign that, they automatically get to go to the payment processing center where they can decide how many payments they want to make. I offer my clients a payment plan up to 4 months if they would like, even longer if they wish. But they are able to select if they want to have payments come out over 4 months, if they'd rather do it over 2, if they'd rather pay in full now. It's their choice. And then at the end of that, they're taken to a video that thanks them for joining me, and it tells them what's going to happen next. They're going to receive an email from me with next steps and linking to their client portal. And the system automatically sends that email out to them, thanking them, sending them a link to their client portal, and the questions that they need to get done before we have our kickoff call. All behind the scenes. That is what my CRM does. And it's amazing because it takes all of that stress off of my shoulders for trying to manage this process. The CRM keeps me organized, and I'm able to just focus on paying attention in that call, modifying the proposal, and then sending it to them. And then when they decide to move forward, I'm not spending all of this time putting together their onboarding information. The system already does it for them. If you just have a contact form on your website, I want you to consider adding a CRM if you are ready. Because when someone fills out your contact form and you just get an email and then you have to respond, it makes more work for you. If you have an email, you don't have to automatically respond. You know that it's going to be taken care of. And instead of manually doing the work, it could be automated. So think about that. And like I said, there are a bunch of different options. If you like HoneyBook, I have a link on my website in my resources that gives you a percentage off if you want to use that. But I've used HoneyBook for about 5 years, and I find it so user-friendly, and they're constantly adding to it. It's one of my favorite tools. Now, the second system I use, and I mention this because it is in HoneyBook, is a scheduler. Some people use Calendly, Acuity, Square. There are a bunch of different schedulers, Amelia. But what I'm grateful for is that it reduces that back and forth of scheduling that honestly would drive me insane. When someone sends me an email and says, "Are you free Tuesday at 2?" And then I write back to them, "I'm not." And I have to say, "Well, are you free Wednesday at 10? Does that work?" And it's just that back and forth it's highly stressful for me because I feel like there's no real handle on if we're going to get something scheduled. And it also takes me longer to reply because I've got to look at my calendar and see what works every single time. I have direct booking links. I mention on my contact page when someone fills out that contact form, they're immediately taken to my consultation calendar. When someone is ready to go forward with me and they sign the contract for that kickoff call, I have a link that's sent to them to schedule the kickoff call. When my clients are ready to launch, I have a different calendar and it's my launch calendar, and I send it to my client that is ready to launch their website. And a note on the launch call, it's done through Honeybook. And what happens is when I have a client schedule a launch call, I have another automation set up where when they do the launch call, then the client will get a request for feedback. I ask for feedback about the project 24 hours prior to that launch call, so I can hear from them how everything went and I can address anything that I need to address on that launch call. And then following the launch call, I have an email series that goes out 10 days about their new website and things that they can do in the next 30 days or so as they start working with their new website. I have a lot of automation set up based on my scheduling. And that is why I like to use Honeybook. But if you don't want to integrate your CRM to scheduling, there are many different tools that you can use just to have your scheduling all set. It's so beautifully simple because the scheduler, you can see real-time availability. Your potential client can work and pick a time that works for them. It automatically will send you the link to add to both of our calendars. You get confirmation and reminder emails. There will be that Zoom link if you're doing it virtually that includes there. And like I shared, even if you don't have a CRM, Calendly and other schedulers allow you to ask questions before the call as well. So if you need to send prep questions, you can. It reduces that back and forth and it's just easier. It makes everyone's life easier. So that is another system that I'm interrupting this episode to ask you a question. Is your website working as hard as you are? You've invested in a website, but if visitors aren't becoming paying clients, something's missing. My website audit is a professional review where I will analyze your site and identify exactly what's blocking conversions. You'll get a prioritized action plan with specific changes to turn more browsers into buyers. So stop guessing what's wrong and get some clear answers. Book your website audit today. The link is in the show notes. Now back to the episode. I'm grateful for and I enjoy in my everyday business. The third system is my email marketing platform. I use ConvertKit, and I am grateful for ConvertKit because my email list is one of my most valuable assets in my business. It's more valuable to me than my social media or anything else that I have. And Kit, I should say Kit instead of ConvertKit, makes it so easy for me to grow that list and to nurture that list. I have been a Kit user for many years. Prior to that, I was in the MailerLite realm. I find that Kit has taken everything up a notch and has so many different integrations that you can use if you need to. How it connects to my website is that every opt-in form on my website is connected to Kit. When someone asks for my freebie, the Secrets to a Money-Making Homepage, they are added to Kit. When they join my weekly Website Design Made Simple newsletter that's in the footer of my website, they get onto my newsletter list. I have a couple of templates that I shared out, and when they got one of those, they get added to the email list. And from there, I am able to continue the conversation with people who have come to me for resources or have come to me that wanted to stay in touch, as well as clients. Kit allows me to email them, and I send a weekly email to everyone. What I like to do is I like to personalize it based on what segment they are. For example, if they are a client and they're on my newsletter list, sometimes I like to add a paragraph at the end or a paragraph in the beginning to just check in with them. Or if there is an offer that is specifically for my previous clients, I can add it to that newsletter. It is a really easy to use system. And I believe that your website needs an email marketing component because most people aren't ready to hire you the first time they visit your website. And an email allows you to get their email address and stay in touch until they are ready. And only if it's set up properly and connected to your website will this work. So think about if you don't already have email marketing on your website as a system to add in the future. The fourth system that I love is analytics and tracking, Google Analytics and Hotjar. And I have a whole podcast series, episode 50, 51, and 52, that talks about these three tools and how I use them on my website and how my clients use them. But I like to make website decisions based on what I know and what I know from data versus what I think might work or what might look good. I do that by understanding what pages people are actually visiting, where they are leaving, how long they're staying, what's resonating, what's converting. All of this data comes from Google Analytics and Hotjar. And how it connects to my website is both tools are embedded in my website code. They run in the background and they collect data about real people using my site. Google Analytics shows you what people are doing on your website, pages, how long they're staying, what they really like. And Hotjar tells you how they are interacting with your website. It's heat mapping, and it shares with you what people are clicking on, how far they're scrolling through your page, what pages they're going on, what buttons they're using, things like that, how they interact with your website. What I like to track is which pages get the most traffic, how long people are staying on each page, where they're clicking on my website, what forms are getting filled out, and what pages people are leaving on. That's a really important one. And I can get a lot of data from these different areas that I track. Your website needs a tool like this because you can't improve what you don't know, what you don't measure. And without analytics, without data, you're just guessing. But when you have that data, you can see exactly what's working and what's not and make educated decisions. Google Analytics and Hotjar are both free. So if you haven't already set it up, I encourage you to add a little code to your website because even basic data will help you make better decisions. And again, make sure you go back. If you don't know much about Google Analytics and Hotjar, go back and listen to those episodes 50, 51, and 52. They'll help you a lot if you're interested in the data. Okay, my next system, number 5, is my project management, and this is Notion. I am obsessed with Notion. I'm such a Notion girly. It keeps everything, my whole life, my projects, my content calendar, my brain from just poof, exploding everywhere. It organizes everything, my life, my personal life. And I love it because it allows me to create beautiful places to share this information. It really matters to me if something is aesthetically pleasing or not, because if it doesn't look good, I'm not going to go there. I won't use it. I won't spend time there. And I have tried Asana, I've tried ClickUp, Trello, all the things, but Notion is the one that really works best for my brain and my mind. I keep everything organized there, especially my projects. When someone becomes a client and they go through the whole process with Honeybook, I have something set up through Zapier, which I'm going to talk about next, that sends information to Notion and creates a project for them. And in that project, I have all the different steps of my project outlined, very detailed for myself and my team to get connected on what we need to do for this potential client. It all happens in the background with their deliverables, their timelines, the files live there, emails that I need. It all comes in Notion, and I'm able to see on a dashboard that I created all the projects that I have in progress right now and where we are in each project. I can also do my task management there, so I have tasks set up on things that I need to happen on specific days, as well as my podcast. That is what I use for project management. And how it matters to your website should really feed into your project flow. Everything should flow together and not create extra work. And when a client books through your website, there should be something that triggers your project setup. not just sitting in an email waiting for you to manually create the task. So think about, is there a way you can automate your project management system to kick off when someone starts working with you and gets into your world? My system number 6 is also a project management, content management system. It kind of relates to this. It is Airtable. And I use Airtable for my podcast management, my content management. I use Notion for most things and to kick off my podcast recording process. But then I transfer it to Airtable. And I will tell you why. Airtable works a little bit better with Zapier, which is going to set up some automations for me. So I manage my whole podcast process in Airtable. I have an Airtable base and I come up with the title of the podcast and I write down some notes and brainstorm. And then I create the podcast episode and I grab the script and I put it into my Airtable. And from there, I can set off all different automations and create assets based on that podcast script. Airtable is similar to Excel, but on steroids, we like to say. You can do so many things. You can manage your information, create different ways to view it, and more importantly, create automations within Airtable itself, but also within Zapier, and it works so well together. So that is my system number 6. I love Airtable, and it's related to my website because it's related to my project management system, but this is just an added bonus that I like to talk about because it's a great way to manage anything that you want to manage that you could do it with in Excel or in a Google Sheet. And then finally, my last integration that ties it all together that I'm grateful for is Zapier. Zapier connects all of these systems so they talk to each other without me having to do anything. And I shared a little bit about some of the systems that I have. But for example, when I have a new client sign up with me through my CRM, they pay, they sign the contract, boom, they're done. I told you that there is a project that is added in my Notion, my project management system. How it's added in that project management system is through Zapier. I have a Zap set up so that when someone finalizes their contract in Honeybook, Zap will go off and it will set up a project in Notion. And it will start it from scratch. It will pull all the tasks that I need into that system. And it will also create a Google Drive for my new client. It will create a copy of the templates we're going to use to start the project. It will create all of the assets that I need to share with the client to start the project. Zapier is the piece of the puzzle that ties it all together. I also have it tying in my Airtable. I shared that I use Airtable because it works a little bit better with Zapier. When I create a podcast episode and I add my script into Airtable, I have all these automations that set off where I can have it repurpose my script into different forms of content. And one of those is for a piece of content from my blog. It writes a blog post based on that podcast episode. Zapier is what sets off this automation. I put the script into Airtable. I set off the automation. The automation goes and creates a blog post that I can put on my website. And then I set off another automation with Zapier, and it will post that blog post on my website. This is what ties it all together, Zapier. There's also ways that you can tag a certain subscriber when they sign up for your newsletter based on what page they sign up for on your website. If there's a client contract that gets signed, you can have it send out a welcome email. It can send out an email to you. The automations are endless on what you can do with Zapier. And I'm not going to go into all of them. These are some that I have set up. But if you want something to happen and two pieces of software don't talk to each other, consider looking at Zapier. There's probably an automation that you can have going on for that. And why your website needs this is because the magic of automation and freeing up your time isn't about just having these tools. It's about making them all work together seamlessly. So your website process is smooth and automatic. Your website really kicks it all off. And then all of these tools support everything on the back end. Because, like I said, the problem comes in where you design a website, you get it out there, you start getting really busy. You're busy with client work, and more inquiries start coming in, and more projects start coming in. And your website is bringing all of this in, and that's wonderful. But then what needs to happen on the back end to make it all work well? And that is why these systems are important. So I hope this was interesting and helpful. I thought it would be a fun twist on giving thanks to share my thanks for these behind the scenes systems that help me make my website and my business work better all around. I really think your website is only as good as the system supporting it. And that is why I like to talk to my clients about what's going on in the back end. What do we have when someone signs up or pays, or what can we integrate into the website to make it run more smoothly? So thank you so much for listening. I hope if you're listening to this live that you're having a wonderful week. Happy Thanksgiving, and I will talk to you next time. And that wraps up another episode of Website Design Made Simple. I hope you found the insights shared in this episode valuable and takes you one step closer to creating a website that attracts more of your ideal clients and builds your brand. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify. Your review will help us reach more small business owners like you who are ready to make more money with their website. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.